Before turning left, it is important to A. Sound your horn. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. C. Swing to the right side of your lane. D. Wait until oncoming traffic has a red light. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. When turning left at a traffic signal, you must yield the right of way to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. When entering a highway from an entrance ramp, you should generally A. Enter above the speed of traffic to get ahead. B. Enter slowly to avoid other vehicles. C. Stop first, then slowly enter traffic. D. Accelerate to the speed of traffic. D. Accelerate to the speed of traffic. Entrance ramps for highways often have acceleration lanes. When merging with traffic from an acceleration lane, you should put your signal on, look for an opening in traffic, accelerate up to the speed of traffic, and merge into an opening in traffic. This sign means A. Trucks under 18,000 pounds. Allowed. B. Hill ahead. C. Truck stop ahead. D. No trucks allowed. B. Hill ahead. This sign warns that there is a steep hill ahead. If you need to stop quickly and your vehicle is not equipped with an anti-lock braking system (ABS), you should A. Hold down the brake pedal. B. Firmly pump your brakes. C. Lightly tap the brakes. D. Release the brake pedal. B. Firmly pump your brakes. Pumping the brakes is generally the best way to stop a car in an emergency. The car will stop quickly and you will also be able to continue steering.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign is used to warn drivers about A. Upcoming intersections. B. Road construction. C. An upcoming curve in the road. D. Changes in traffic lanes. C. An upcoming curve in the road. This sign indicates that the road ahead curves to the right. This green arrow on a lane use control signal means A. You may use this lane. B. No traffic is allowed in this lane. C. You have the right of way. D. You must merge into this lane. A. You may use this lane. A steady downward green arrow over a traffic lane means you may use the lane indicated. Defensive driving is A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. B. Defending yourself against poor drivers by getting ahead of them in traffic. C. Following the vehicle ahead of you at a close distance. D. Quickly changing lanes and shifting in and out of traffic congestion. A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. You drive defensively when you identify dangerous driving situations and take action before an accident occurs. Defensive driving helps prevent conflicts with aggressive, offensive, discourteous, careless, inattentive, impulsive, ignorant, or intoxicated drivers or pedestrians. This road sign means A. No passing zone. B. Winding road. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. This sign indicates a low ground railroad crossing. Where this sign is present, Railroad tracks cross the road at a steep slope and the bottom of low vehicles may drag or get caught on the tracks. Studies show that properly wearing a seat belt A. increases the chance of fatality in a crash. B. reduces damage to your car in a crash. C. reduces the risk of serious injury in a crash. D. all of the above. C. reduces the risk of serious injury in a crash. Studies show that, when worn properly, safety belts greatly reduce your chances of being seriously injured in a crash. Seat belts are 60 to 70% effective in preventing fatalities in auto crashes. Before turning, you should A. use your signal. B. turn the wheel. C. increase your speed. D. change lanes. A. use your signal. To complete a turn safely, you should activate your turn signal 3 to 4 seconds before your turn. When getting ready to change lanes, you should A. check your side view mirror. B. check your rear view mirror. C. quickly turn your head to check for other vehicles. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. Before changing lanes, check your side and rearview mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Just before you begin moving into the other lane, quickly glance over your shoulder and check for any vehicles that may be in your blind spot. Always signal when A. changing lanes. B. pulling into or out of a parking space. C. pulling into traffic from a parking area or alley. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. Your turn signals should always be used when you make any movement to the left or right. You should use your signal when pulling into traffic from a curbside parking space, moving into a new lane, or passing another vehicle. Drivers of motor vehicles must yield to a pedestrian. A. only when the pedestrian is a young child, elderly, or blind. B. only when the driver is not in a hurry. C. only when driving at night. D. when the pedestrian is in a crosswalk at an intersection. D. when the pedestrian is in a crosswalk at an intersection. Slow down or stop at an intersection to yield right-of-way to a pedestrian who is crossing or is about to cross within a marked or unmarked crosswalk. Additionally, be alert for pedestrians who are unexpectedly crossing the street in front of you. On long trips, you can prevent drowsiness by A. turning on your car radio. B. slowing down. C. stopping at regular intervals for a rest. D. moving your eyes from side to side as you drive. C. stopping at regular intervals for a rest. To prevent drowsiness on long trips, you should schedule regular stops. Give yourself time to rest and stretch, even if you are not feeling tired. Which of the following must you obey over the other three? A. a steady red light. B. a police officer. C. a stop sign. D. a flashing red light. To ensure that your physical condition does not cause you to drive in an unsafe manner, you should A. keep physically fit and have regular physical examinations. B. know the effect of any medicine on your driving ability. C. drive within your physical limitations. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. Your physical condition has an important bearing on your ability to drive safely. Drivers should be aware of their physical limitations and only drive if it is safe to do so. Which of the following statements is true? A. It is okay for drivers of other vehicles to follow motorcycles closely. B. A motorcycle with two people on it is more balanced than a motorcycle with just one rider. C. The driver of a passenger vehicle must change lanes completely when passing a motorcycle. D. Drivers of other vehicles can expect a motorcycle's brake lights to turn on when the motorcyclist slows down. C. The driver of a passenger vehicle must change lanes completely when passing a motorcycle. Motorcycles are entitled to the width of a full lane. Be sure your vehicle is entirely in the left lane before attempting to pass a motorcycle on the left. The driver's left arm and hand are extended downward. This hand signal means that the driver plans to A. Turn left. B. Turn right. C. Stop. D. Start up. C. Stop. If a driver's left arm and hand are extended downward, they are indicating that they intend to stop. Adjust your driving accordingly if following a driver who is using this hand signal. This road sign means A. The left lane is reserved for vehicles with a specific number of occupants. B. Specific turning movements are allowed from specific lanes. C. Do not enter. D. Drivers in both lanes are responsible for merging smoothly. A. The left lane is reserved for vehicles with a specific number of occupants. This sign marks a high occupancy vehicle (HOV) lane. HOV lanes are reserved for use by buses and vehicles with a driver and one or more passengers, as indicated on the sign. Crossbuck signs indicate A. Railroad crossings. B. School zones. C. No passing zones. D. Hospitals. A. Railroad crossings. Crossbuck signs tell drivers to yield to trains at a railroad crossing. Drivers should not try to outdrive a train. You may avoid the risks of alcohol-related crashes by A. Deciding before you start drinking that you are not going to drive. B. Simply saying, "No thanks, I'm driving," if someone offers you a drink. C. Calling a taxi. D. Doing any of the above. D. Doing any of the above. The only way to avoid the risks of drinking and driving is to decide before you start drinking that you are not going to drive. Because alcohol affects your judgment, it will be harder for you to make safe decisions after you have started drinking. You are driving at night and another vehicle is approaching from the opposite direction. Your headlights? A. Should be on their high beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. C. Should be off. Use your parking lights. D. May be on either their high or low beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. Do not use your high beam headlights when approaching or following another vehicle at night. Switch to the low beam setting to ensure the safety of everyone on the road. When making a turn, you must fill in the blank. Your speed. A. Increase. B. Maintain. C. Vary. D. Reduce. D. Reduce. When turning, you should reduce to a speed that allows you to maintain control of your vehicle, stay in your lane, and react to unexpected situations. If you are driving on a one-way street and an emergency vehicle using its flashing lights approaches your vehicle, you must A. Drive with your flashers turned on. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. C. Speed up and take the nearest exit. D. Slow down until the vehicle passes you. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. If an emergency vehicle using its lights or siren approaches while you are driving on a one-way street, you must drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. An approaching driver fails to dim their high-beam headlights. Where should you look? A. At the wheels of the approaching vehicle. B. Toward the right side of the road. C. Toward the left side of the road. D. Straight down the middle of the road. B. Toward the right side of the road. If an approaching driver fails to dim their high beams, glance toward the right side of the road. This will keep you from being blinded by the other vehicle's headlights and will allow you to see enough of the road to stay on course until the other vehicle has passed. State and local authorities. A. Must post the same speed limit for all roads that are similar to one another. B. May adjust statewide speed limits by posting speed limit signs. C. Do not have the authority to post varying speed limits. D. Must never post a speed limit lower than 35 miles per hour. B. May adjust statewide speed limits by posting speed limit signs. Regardless of standard speed limit maximums set by law, state and local authorities may adjust speed limits in specific areas by posting speed limit signs. When it is reasonable and prudent, follow the posted speed limit. You may continue carefully through an intersection with a yellow light if A. There is an emergency vehicle crossing your lane. B. There are pedestrians crossing. C. You are turning right. D. You are already within the intersection when the light changes to yellow. D. You are already within the intersection when the light changes to yellow. If a steady yellow light appears when you are already within an intersection, you should continue through the intersection carefully. How can you help prevent rear-end collisions? A. Avoid sudden stops. B. Before stopping, check your mirrors and blind spots for traffic. C. Release the gas pedal and let your vehicle slow before applying the brakes. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Stopping suddenly can make it difficult for drivers behind you to avoid a rear-end collision. When stopping, release the accelerator to allow your vehicle to slow. Press the brake pedal by applying steady pressure, activating your brake lights and causing the vehicle to stop smoothly. When driving through school zones. A. Never travel faster than 10 miles per hour. B. Expect students to yield the right of way to vehicles. C. Drive the same speed during school hours and hours when school is not in session. D. Observe posted school zone speed limits. D. Observe posted school zone speed limits. Observe posted speed limits in school zones. There are increased penalties for violation of school zone speed limits. You are driving on a divided multi-lane highway and see or hear the signal of an approaching emergency vehicle. You should A. Disregard the signal if there are other lanes available for the emergency vehicle. B. Stop as quickly as you can. C. Slow down, move your vehicle to provide a clear path for the emergency vehicle, and stop. D. Increase your speed to get out of the way of the emergency vehicle. C. Slow down, move your vehicle to provide a clear path for the emergency vehicle, and stop. If you hear the siren or see the flashing lights of an emergency vehicle, you must slow down, provide a clear path for the vehicle, and stop. Don't try to outdrive the emergency vehicle. A slow-moving vehicle emblem is A. A rectangular red sign. B. A circular green sign. C. A diamond-shaped yellow sign. D. A triangular orange sign. D. A triangular orange sign. The slow-moving vehicle symbol is a reflective orange triangle. Expect vehicles using this emblem to be driving at speeds of 25 miles per hour or slower. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Two-way left turn. C. Two-way traffic. D. Minimum speed limit. A. One-way traffic. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign tells drivers the direction in which they must drive when turning onto a one-way street. You notice a vehicle defect which may affect the safe operation of your vehicle. You should A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. B. Correct the defect when you can afford it. C. Drive the vehicle at slower speeds. D. Drive normally. A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. Any defect that may affect the safe operation of a vehicle should be corrected as soon as possible. Defects should be corrected before the vehicle is driven. This sign means A. Stop ahead. B. Buggy warning. C. Limited parking. D. Do not block intersection. A. Stop ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign tells drivers that there is an upcoming stop sign and that they should prepare to come to a complete stop before proceeding. Your ability to stop is affected by A. Signal lights. B. Other cars on the road. C. The time of day. D. The condition of the road. D. The condition of the road. Your ability to stop is greatly affected by the condition of the road. You need to reduce your speed when road conditions are poor in order to maintain control of your vehicle. You will be at risk if you are driving too quickly on roads that are slippery and you need to stop. You notice that the driver in the vehicle ahead of you is driving with one hand and talking to a passenger. You should A. Give the vehicle extra space. B. Know that the driver in the vehicle ahead is reducing their safety margin by being an inattentive driver. C. Avoid following the driver's example. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not become distracted by looking at passengers, attempting to find something in your vehicle, looking at reading material, sightseeing, or daydreaming while driving. If a driver near you seems distracted, allow them extra space because the risk of an accident is increased by their inattentiveness. In which of the following ways can alcoholic beverages affect you? A. It slows your reaction time. B. It gives you a feeling of false confidence. C. It impairs your thinking ability. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Alcohol dulls the parts of your brain that control inhibition, judgment, and self-control. As a result, you may feel stimulated, lively, and a bit giddy or foolish after consuming alcohol. Alcohol also impairs your reaction time, coordination, and balance. Your vision and ability to judge distance suffers after alcohol consumption, making it difficult to react to your surroundings. An end school zone sign indicates a. that the speed limit is 20 miles per hour. B. the beginning of a reduced speed zone. C. the increased possibility of encountering pedestrians. D. the end of a reduced speed zone. D. the end of a reduced speed zone. Do not exceed the school zone speed limit during indicated times. The end of a reduced speed school zone will be indicated by an end school zone regulatory sign. This road sign means A. school crossing, B. pedestrian crossing, C. jogging trail, D. busy sidewalk. B. pedestrian crossing. This sign indicates the presence of a pedestrian crossing. You should watch for people entering a crosswalk or crossing your path. Slow down and be prepared to stop. What does an orange-colored sign indicate? A. the start of a no-passing zone. B. a railroad crossing is ahead. C. a school zone is ahead. D. the presence of construction work. D. the presence of construction work. Construction, maintenance, and emergency operations signs are generally orange with black symbols.